guys, it's Katie and I'm here today to do my first Top 5 Wednesday video of the year. I'm trying to make more of an active effort to do these this year. I don't know if I'll actually live up to it. It depends on the topics and how much time I've got. But I'm actually planning on doing 2 this month because the topics just went up and they look really interesting and really fun. And this one is definitely 110% up my alley, so of course I had to jump on it. And that is top 5 nostalgic ships. So I'm actually going to do something a little bit different with it. I'm going to talk about my top 5 nostalgic ships, so like ships that I used to be really active in and ship when I was younger. But I'm also going to talk about current ships, the ones that I'm actively part of right now in this day and age, and it's going to be a good time. So without further ado, let's launch right on into all of the ship things because I'm ready. So for those of you who don't know, I am an avid shipper. I literally have an entire flotilla of ships, and I'll actually link my video up above with all of the ships that I have, at least from 2018 up above. Things have changed since then, I'm gonna warn you. And I'll actually link my Tumblr fandoms and ships page down below for your viewing pleasure. So if you have any of the same ones, you can come talk to me about them. But anyway, I digress. Let's just launch into my top 5 nostalgic ships. These are in no particular order, by the way, so let's just launch right on in. So one ship that I used to be really hardcore about, and I'm not so much anymore, is Snape and Lily from Harry Potter. It's gonna surprise a lot of you, I think, but when I was younger, I really liked the idea of them together. I didn't really conceptualize that it was an abusive situation and that it was just a really unhealthy relationship. I just loved the tragedy and the angstiness behind it, and it just really changed my view on so much of the series and the characters when I read the 7th book right before I went to high school. And so that was definitely a ship that I was into for a while, and I have since kind of come to reevaluate my thoughts on them as a thing. I still like them as like friends, like they have a terrible friendship, but at the same time I really think Snape deserved better. I'm sorry, I know that's a super unpopular opinion, but I don't hate him as much as some people do. I hate him for the actions that he did and like a lot of the shit he did, but I think people can change as they get older and they can redeem themselves. And I think that if given the chance, he could have gotten to that point. And in some ways, I think he did a lot. Like, he did a lot that a lot of people just kind of brush off because of his terrible actions throughout the entire series. And as I said, I'm not brushing all of that off, but I just think that we should focus on the good that he did too, because he did definitely have good in him. And another ship that I had that I was really active in, but since now the show is completed and the fanfic was just not as appealing to me anymore, Booth and Brennan from the TV series Bones. They are, in a large way, my original ship. Like, they are the first ship that I read fanfic for, and they're the first ship that I was just super hardcore about from the very beginning of time. Like, I will never forget after I started watching the show. It was in its 3rd season, but they were airing old episodes, you know, back when they actually used to do that on a regular basis, because, you know, they don't really do that anymore unless you watch TNT. And I don't watch TNT because too many commercials, man. I have the DVDs instead. It's fine. But I literally lived and breathed Booth and Brennan. It was a really just phenomenal experience for me, and I just literally loved everything about them. They're very passionate, and they're very just they're bickering, and just their little nitpicking things with each other. I just loved everything about them. I can't even express my emotions. That show was there for me during a period of time when I needed it the most, and I just threw my heart and soul into them as a couple, both pre and post them getting together, because hi, they're actually canon. And I don't know how to express my love for them, but I will forever love them, because I'm of the mindset that that you, even though you used to ship something, or you used to be part of a fandom, you never really leave. Whenever, I found that out with another ship that I'm going to talk about later, but there was another show that I was really into, and I was really into the ship, and I left fandom for quite a while, and then I came back, and I just fell right back into it, and I was welcomed back by a lot of my old friends and people that I still sometimes occasionally talk to, and reread fic and read fic again, and I was just very immersed in the fandom. And I think it's the same as Bones. While my love for it, has waned slightly, it will always have a permanent stamp on my heart. And it will be something that I just love and cherish for arguably the rest of my life. Because, as I said, that show was there for me when I needed it. And I have no regrets. I still think about them often. And, I still reblog things and talk to a few people on Tumblr about them, and I mean, it's just, it's such a fantastic series, and I'd highly recommend it if you haven't watched it or haven't given it a try, because just the characters and their relationships with each other are so phenomenally done. Then third is Rebecca and Jesse from Full House. Yeah, I was really into Full House when I was a kid. I was sick a lot, and I would be at home, and they would often have like Full House marathons, and I would binge the hell out of that. But I love Jesse and Rebecca. They're arguably the first ship that I had without realizing that I shipped them, if you know what I mean. There was a lot of that going on when I was a kid. I didn't necessarily know what shipping was, and I didn't necessarily think about them at great length, but I definitely know that I shipped them without realizing that I did. I just really liked them together. They were really cute, and they just had a really cute little story. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like sweet girl, bad boy kind of a thing, but Jesse really wasn't a bad boy. He was a really big teddy bear, and I don't know. It might have just been the fact that it was John Stamos, and I thought he was attractive, and I wanted him to be happy. I don't know, but I just really liked them a lot as a couple, and just their love for each other was definitely shown through really well in the series. Then next is Kurt and Blaine from Glee. I was also really into them for a long time. I'm realizing now that a lot of my ships are TV based, and I'm going to explain that in kind of at the end of the video, because I feel like you deserve an explanation for that. My first introduction and love of male ships. I mean, I was introduced to them before, but I never really thought about it. It wasn't my first introduction, but it was the first ones that I actually fell in love with. I know a lot of people talk about their love of Wolfstar, Harry Potter, Sirius, and Lupin, and I didn't ship that until much later, but I was introduced to a few down the line. Like, I just accidentally clicked on something, on fanfiction.net, you accidentally click on something, they're like, oh, I didn't realize what was going on. I was just like, I don't like this character at all, and the fact that this is happening right now is just no, because it's separating my OTP. So I was just like, we're not playing that game. But when I finally stumbled upon Kurt and Blaine, because I actually started watching Glee in the second season. I didn't really like the first season. I watched it like half-heartedly. Then I was required to watch it for a class, and then I just kind of ended up watching it from week to week. And then Blaine showed up, and I'm just like, shit. So yeah, I just loved that idea because I saw a lot of myself in Kurt, and I just wanted him to be happy, and Blaine was just a really good guy, plus he had a phenomenal singing voice, so it was just like, yes, I'm all about this, please. And then as I watched their relationship, you know, morph, and then watched, you know, original song, I was just like, oh my god. So I just dived into all the fic, and I was just like, I never looked back. Yeah, I went there. But yeah, I just definitely love them, and they actually changed my life in a lot of ways too, because through reading fic for them and through, you know, experiencing that with them, I kind of came to terms with certain things about my identity, and just, it was right around the time that I was going to college that I was like neck deep in stuff about them. So they're another one that, you know, I love, but I don't actively participate in fandom so much anymore. But remember how I referenced earlier in the video that I like left and then I came back? It was for these boys, because I stopped watching after season 3, and I just loosely followed it on Tumblr and online, so I kind of knew what was going on. And then I came back in when they had the wedding in the 6th season, and I just wanted to see how it was going to end and everything. And then I just fell right back into the fic. And so the last one I'm going to talk about is another book ship, and that is Ron and Hermione. I was a very big-ish shipper of Ron and Hermione, especially in the later books. I just really kind of supported that, but that was also kind of around the time where it's like I didn't know what shipping was until like a year or two later, kind of a situation. But I just really liked them together. I just thought they fit well, that they were really adorable, and things like that. I mean, I was one of those people who just like, if the author put them together, I was like, okay, yeah, I support this kind of a person. And I have since very much evolved. I have a lot of interesting ships now, and most of them are not canon. Anyway, I really liked them, but, you know, as time went on, I just kind of realized that they weren't my favorite. I like them together, but they're not, you know, my OTP of Harry Potter, if you know what I mean. But I definitely enjoyed them. Those are my 5 nostalgic ships that I'm at least briefly going to talk about. I have a lot more that I could talk about, but those are the main ones. And now I want to talk to you guys about the current ones that I'm actively part of. Let's go. The main ships that I have today that I'm pretty actively part of is about my 2 Harry Potter ones first. I might as well just get them out of the way. But first I have, surprise, Draco and Neville. They work so well together. That is a very, 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 very recent development, like the last couple of weeks. And I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks going through the fanfic and talking to the person who decided it was a good idea to get me invested in them. She's another fandom friend for another ship that I'm actually going to talk about in a little bit. But I am literally neck deep in Drevel fic and feels for them right now, because they work. Holy crap, do they work. Not only are they not what people expect them to be, but they're also like, I love the idea of the societal pressures that are put on them, especially since they're both pure blood, and I don't know, there's just so much about them that works. Like, I literally, when I saw someone talking about them, I was like, eh. And then I clicked on the fic that they were recommending and I started reading. I'm like, oh no. And I was just like, how is this a thing? But okay, my whole world is changing now. Oh my God, excuse me while I go die. So that's where I'm at right now. So that's one of them. And the other Harry Potter ship I have is also fairly-ish recent upon, I don't know, because of a couple of years ago. I think it was about 3 years ago now. And this one rocked my world, okay? And it is a very, very, very big rare pair. So prepare yourselves. Harry and Cedric, or as I like to call them, the chosen spare. My heart, okay? Just bear with me here. So those idiots work perfectly together in every possible way. And in some ways, if you read the text carefully, it is there, okay? Next time I reread Harry Potter, I'm gonna vlog the experience and I'm gonna explain to you in great detail why they work and why I ship them. Cedric would be like the perfect boyfriend for Harry in so many ways. They both have all these pressures upon them. And I mean, Cedric is this just giant sweetheart. Harry is this like, I mean, both of them are celebrities in certain ways. You know, Harry's the chosen one, and Cedric is, you know, brilliant student, sweet, kind person, incredibly handsome. I mean, they just work, okay? I will convince you, but if I have not convinced you, just go watch my other video that I referenced earlier and I linked above before, because I go into a little bit more depth there and I explain my love for these boys in a little bit more depth. Then next is another one that is quite recent, and that is Merlin and Arthur from Merlin. Oh man. They are literally soulmates, okay? Like, they even reference it in the series a lot. I just really like them together. Just watching the series, like, it should have been 110% canon, but of course not, because no. Now we're getting into my veteran ships, and they're my last three. And so let's launch in, starting with Steve and Tony from the Marvel Universe, in any respect of the word. Oh my God, do I love Steve and Tony. But first of all, Tony Stark is my literal bro, and I will fight you to the death because I love him so much. He has impacted my life in so many ways because he is just such a small gem, and he deserves so much better than people give him credit for. But just the idea of him and Steve together works because Tony is Mr. Technology, Mr. 21st Century, and Steve is Mr. 40s, Mr. I don't know my life situation. And just kind of when he wakes up from, you know, from the ice, he's just kind of like, I don't know what my life is, like, please help me. And Tony, being Tony, will bend over backwards for this boy. The idea of Howard basically creating Captain America from Steve, and Tony having to grow up in that shadow, because I know he did not have a good relationship with his father when he was growing up. And I think that's kind of like, I don't know, it just adds an extra layer of, you know, Tony probably idolized this icon his whole life, and then when he meets him, he's like, oh well, okay. So I mean, just, they work so well together. I mean, and then coming in at number 2 is a ship that I have been neck deep in since 2014, and those are my boys John and Sherlock from the Sherlock Holmes universe in every respect of the word. Do I need to explain my love for John Locke? Because that would take a long time. They have an eternal love because, 1865, like, that's when this whole universe was a thing, and then we launched forward and they brought it to the modern age, and they're still love eternal. Like, just the way the show did it too is just super gay. Like, you can't not ship them in the show. Like, Sherlock is a small, gay, pining baby, and John is just a grumpy bisexual. Like, that's even kind of somewhat been confirmed, so I mean. And finally, to no one's surprise, Fitz and the Fool from the Realm of the Elderling series. Where do I even begin with them? I don't. So I'm just going to tell you to go watch my video, and just go watch my video that I made about ships and things, because just, dear Lord in heaven, they are everything, and I mean everything. Not only they surpass all other ships by a mile. I only ship them now, and just I don't even know how to describe my love for them. So just go watch the thing. Just know that they are my everything. They are my OTP of all OTPs, and there is no fic for them like that does them justice. Just read the books instead, please. Okay, great. Explanation as to why most of my ships from the nostalgia era are TV shows and not books. It's because most of the books that I read, I either agreed with the ships or just didn't think about it. I didn't think to argue. I was just like, oh, okay, that's a thing, that's fine, cool. Once I kind of got older and started getting into Booth and Brennan more, and like that whole adventure, they were not canon yet, and I was just dying, and I was just like waiting for it and waiting for that to happen. And same with Kurt and Blaine. And then as I got into the Sherlock fandom, I was just like, okay, I am officially all aboard the, you know, non-canon compliant ships. Like, we're gonna go here and we're gonna have this adventure. And I've just kind of never looked back from that. But I also just never thought to argue with the author, or I never really thought about ships. But then when they were shoved in my face on a screen, I was much more inclined to be part of that adventure than reading a book. Because reading a book, I was just like, okay, the thing happened, whatever. But I've started to kind of get out of that now, and now I'm all about all the kinds of ships. This was my fun mess of a video of ship things, whether it was nostalgic or current. And I'm curious to know what some of your ships are, if you have any. So feel free to comment down below or come find me on Twitter. As always, I'll leave my social media links down below, and I'm also gonna post my fandoms and ships list down below if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about that. And as I've already talked about, I linked my original older ship video up above. As I said, some things have changed, but most really hasn't. And yeah, that's about all I've got. You know the drill, and I'll catch you later with another video. Bye!